What's going on, YouTube? Cyrus here, coming at you with another Final Fantasy XIV review, and today I'm doing Heavensward. Alright, so today I'm going to be doing Heavensward, and I'm going to be doing this kind of in the style that I did my previous review of A Realm Reborn, which is on my channel, and that is I'm going to be going through my pros and my cons of the game, kind of talking about the game overall and my thoughts on it, and then I'll give a score at the end on overall what I thought of the expansion. So, generally where I'm at is, I just started playing Final Fantasy XIV about 3 months ago, so all of the expansions I'm basically playing through as one big main long story quest. So there might be a couple things that maybe came in an expansion before or after technically where Heavensward lands, but you know, that's just been my experience with the game. Like, for example, the gold saucer in my previous review, I'm not exactly sure when that landed, but I included it in my Realm Reborn review because as I was playing through those missions, I was able to go to the gold saucer and do that content there. So, my overall thoughts of Heavensward are, it's great. It's better than A Realm Reborn, and by quite a big margin, actually. And so let's just jump right into my list of my pros and my cons. So, to start us off, my first pro is, wow, this opening movie knocked my socks off. It was fantastic. It's the perfect way to go into an expansion. You watch this video, it's kind of the events that you just played in the main story quest right at the very end of A Realm Reborn, and the graphics are super high quality, so you're seeing basically those last couple events, and then the introduction into Ishgard and the Heavensward and the characters, and the animation is super high quality, and the music is phenomenal in that opening movie, and it just gets you so excited to get into the main story quest and to get going with it. So definitely props for that opening video. I thought it was awesome. I think it helps that I'm playing a male hero character with dark hair, just so happens to be the exact same as the Warrior of Light in this opening video. So I was already just like, that's me, that's my character, I'm getting into it. And some of the action scenes and the elevation changes in that opening cinematic, and you get really excited for the world and to see the city of Ishgard and to see whoever this crazy dragoon is jumping all around the place in that opening video. It was awesome. I loved it. I really liked the opening video. Great way to get me excited about the main story quest. Okay, this is going to be a review that includes spoilers, so if you haven't played it yet, this might not be the time to watch the video because I'm going to be including a few things, especially my dislikes, one big one in particular, and it's going to have major spoiler ramifications. So, just my warning now, this will have spoilers. And my first dislike is the absolute cardinal sin of storytelling. There are two cardinal sins. They are time travel, and they are reviving dead characters. I cannot stand it when any story, book, movie, video game does one of those two things, because I feel like neither one of them can be done properly. Time travel is paradoxically impossible and screws up any manner of things as soon as you do time travel, and raising characters from the dead does one very important thing. It makes it so that death is meaningless. If you can bring back a character, then it no longer has any stakes when a character dies or not. So, I have a huge problem with killing off a character at the very end of A Realm Reborn and then bringing that character back as soon as Heavensward begins. Can't stand it, drives me crazy. And then when you kill a certain boss at the end of Heavensward and you think that's it, we vanquished the evil, sure enough, post-Heavensward content begins, and in that main story, that boss returns. It drives me crazy. I can't stand it when it happens anywhere in storytelling. And I gotta say, Final Fantasy XIV is no exception. My big main con with the entirety of Heavensward is that they break that cardinal sin of storytelling. Alright, the next pro, the music. Oh man, it was my first pro that I had in Final Fantasy XIV A Realm Reborn, and man, it does not go, it's not diminished at all here in Heavensward. It is awesome. The music is great. There's such great music in the opening video here. There's such great music when you get to the cities. There's great music while you're playing those main story quests. The boss fight music, the ambiance of the different zones, it's fantastic. I love it. And I continue to sing the praises of the music here. Definitely, there weren't very many places where I had problems with the music. There were a couple very, very small moments in storytelling sequences, the cutscenes, where some of the music choices you kind of like, well, that's not ideal here, but it's close enough, and it didn't really break my immersion at all in the story. So I didn't really have too much of a problem with it. Very good music choices. The music continues to be one of the definite strong points of Final Fantasy XIV for myself. All right, my next con. I don't really like how in the main story of A Realm Reborn, we do these, our Warrior of Light travels to this ethereal plane, and we get these 6 pillars of light where we awaken like 6 powers, and then, that's the goal of A Realm Reborn, is awakening these 6 powers. I really struggle with the fact that when Heavensward starts, we lose those 6 powers, and then we spend all expansion just regaining powers that we lost, that we had already acquired in A Realm Reborn. I just thought it was a very interesting storytelling path to go down, and I just didn't really understand why we were doing that. We've already done that trope, and now we're revisiting it in the first expansion. Kind of a strange choice for me. I wasn't crazy about that, and that's probably my second con. All right, going back to my pros. The voice acting is even better than it was in A Realm Reborn. As I said in my previous review on A Realm Reborn, I went with the Japanese voice acting from level 1 all the way to now level 80. I played the entire game with the Japanese voice acting, and that's because one of my major cons with The Realm Reborn is I thought the English voice acting was very lackluster. So I didn't do any of the English voice acting in Heavensward, so I can really only speak for the Japanese voice acting, but it got even better. I mean, it seems like they brought on people who, I don't know, maybe they're bigger names in Japan and I just don't know it, but I just really felt like the voice acting was spot on, and I noticed that it was definitely even a step up from A Realm Reborn. So definitely a pro on that voice acting. Okay, my next con. I just didn't understand why there was a mini Midgar Sormer flying around me. It didn't make any sense. I didn't really understand what was happening. It's almost like the rule set hasn't been explained on how this universe works, and I kind of found that there were times where things would just happen, and you're like looking around like, wait, that's a possible thing that can happen in this world? I guess it can. And it's kind of one of those things where it's like, if the story needs it, all of a sudden it's just possible to do, and a character can do it. And one of the examples was this like mini dragon is like flying around me, and I'm like, I don't understand why that's happening. I don't really get why there's a little mini dragon flying around me, but it's just kind of a weird choice. And I feel like it'd be better for me if there was sort of a structure in place where I understood what was possible in this universe, so that when things happen, I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, that's within sort of the guidelines and expectations of this universe. So a little bit of it gets too Final Fantasy for its own good in a sense, but not a huge con for me, but it was something that I didn't love, and something that I kind of noticed when I was playing the game. All right, my next pro was, I love the city of Ishgard. I love that we jump into a story that's midway through. This Dragon Song War is happening, and it's ongoing as we get into the city. And I love the look of the city. I love that there's, A, the music is fantastic, but B, I like that there's like crumbled, broken down parts of the city. I like that there's like different flavors of the city while all sort of having this like medieval theme kind of a thing going on. And I love that it's the Elizin sort of like home city, so you get like a lot of their influence there, and it feels like you're going to a different place than anything that we've seen so far in A Realm Reborn. And credit to the art team, and as I will continue in future reviews, the art team in this game does a great job of making me feel like I'm transported someplace else and experiencing something else. So I like the city of Ishgard, I like the aesthetic, I like the music. That overall is definitely a pro for me. All right. My next con is, my next pro will be the story, but I'll say as a con now, some of the beats after the main story were just slow for me. Some of the patches just following the conclusion of the main story quest leading to the end were sluggish and slow for me, and I was kind of like, okay, like let's just get to the next thing. Since I'm playing it where there's more expansions after Heavensward coming, I was just like, man, let's wrap this up and let's get to Stormblood, because I got a lot of content to play, I got a lot of things to see, and some of this is a little sluggish and a little slow. That said, my next pro. Overall, the story is great. It's so good. Where A Realm Reborn starts off incredibly slow, to where I said in my previous review, levels like 1 to 30, and actually it's probably more like 1 to 40 are fairly sluggish. It takes a long time to really get things going and really get the characters doing what the characters do best. Heavensward starts off kind of with a bang right away. You just get right into the action. You meet some cool characters right at the very beginning. You get this sense of adventure, and you get like your squad of people with you, and you sort of like your traveling companions, and they're interesting, and they're developing those characters well, kind of as you're going through the story. And overall, I just thought the story was much more engaging from beginning to end than A Realm Reborn was. So some strong story beats, particularly towards the end of the story, but then some really strong story beats right before the Stormblood expansion. So overall, I thought the story was definitely a plus, definitely a step up from A Realm Reborn, and credit on that story. All right, one of my cons. Man, I did not love Alphanod in this expansion. I saw where we were headed towards the end of A Realm Reborn. You kind of get the idea of like, okay, some things are going to fall apart here. Like he can do no wrong. He's a bit of a Mary Sue in A Realm Reborn. But in Heavensward, it was just like, it felt like a different character altogether. It was like, this guy is so down and so bummed out, and so he's like joking, and he feels like such a lesser version of himself from A Realm Reborn, and I just didn't love that choice. They build him up a bit by the end, and he starts to become a more important character towards the end of the expansion. But I just didn't love the character, and he's such a main focus of this expansion that I kind of thought it was a bit of a letdown that he didn't do more for me in the story. Okay, that said, my next pro is that there were some very strong characters. Imeric is great, Raubon is great, Estinian is a phenomenal character, super fun. So there are some really great characters here, and there's some huge payoffs of the story when those characters develop as we go through the expansion. So definitely liked a lot of the characters in this. There were a couple bumps here, particularly with Alphanod, and particularly with, I don't even remember the name of the guy in Ul'dah, the little Lalafell, who's like your antagonist. He just didn't really do it for me, and I don't know why he has a mask over his face the whole time. I was kind of like, I don't really understand what we're doing here. That said, there are definitely some strong characters throughout most of the story with Heavensward, and I definitely like that. I definitely thought the characters overall were strong. Okay, another thing that kind of bothered me, there's this Moogle section, and I just didn't love it. It kind of slows things down. The story is really flowing, and there's like adventure going on with the main characters that are alongside your Warrior of Light, and things are starting to get pretty interesting. And then there's this big long Moogle section, and I was like, I remember thinking, oh, that's cute, Moogles, let's keep going. And instead it was, oh, here's Moogles, and we're going to do a whole side story that I think was supposed to be funny, and I just didn't really think it was funny, and it kind of wound up being more annoying to me than anything else, and I kind of was just hoping it would end the whole time. So it's like, it's cute what they did, it's not bad that it's there, but it was too long for me and a little too drawn out, and I wasn't crazy about it. Okay, my next pro, and this is a big one. The epic moments that happen in Heavensward really feel epic. There is a one-on-one fight between sort of the nations where Ishgard has to like prove itself to the alliance of Eorzea, and you have a one-on-one fight with Raubon that is awesome. It's just like, it's so cool. The music is so epic. He's done so much development as a character and become this really strong character in the eyes of the Warrior of Light. And so the way they like set up the battle is pretty cool, and you feel cool in that fight. And then there's this showdown, and like it's one of those like wow moments where you're just like, this is awesome. It's like an awesome moment. I really enjoyed it. I thought it was really cool. Another really awesome moment that I want to focus on is there is a moment where you're about to fight essentially the end boss, and you're on this bridge, and like there's this kind of like war happening, and it's this huge bridge, and it's this huge like open area with open sky above you, and you have to queue up for the dungeon to fight the boss. And the way they frame it is so perfect. You're on one side of the bridge and you queue up for the dungeon, and there's like an invisible border right there, and you can see the boss like off in the distance at the end of the bridge, and there's like epic music playing, and you're just sitting there and you're just like, oh man, it's about to throw down, we're about to go for it, I'm about to fight that guy at the other end of the bridge. And there's just like this excitement right before that battle that is top notch. I mean, it's like one of those epic feeling moments in video games where you know you're about to throw down with a crazy strong boss, and it's just the way it's framed, the music, the aesthetic, it's just an excellently done piece of the story, and huge credit to that. So definitely a plus to some of those epic moments. There's also one more moment at the very, very, very end of the post Heavensward content that feels very, very epic, and there's a big cutscene involved with it, and some crazy things happen that I'm not going to get too into. But it's some of the main characters are thrown into some really intense emotional stuff. And there's kind of the first time of the game where I was like, wow, like there's some weight here. There's some weight in this story and some weight in these characters. And really, really hats off to the team for coming up with some moments that really feel epic and really feel moving. Really like that, really like that. Okay, my final con is going to be that there was a specific character reveal that to me was like eye-rollingly bad. And I'll just say what it is. Again, spoilers if you haven't played the game, maybe skip ahead 30 seconds in this video, but the reveal that the Griffin is Ilberd is like laughably obvious. Like so obvious that I was like, wait, didn't everyone just know that that's who this is? Like, to me, it was like, it was bad, frankly, because I think it was supposed to be a reveal. It wasn't supposed to be as obvious, I think. And it was painfully obvious to me. I mean, and it kind of like, it took me out of the game even. Like, I remember just kind of like rolling my eyes and being like, that was kind of stupid. Like, that was just not a good reveal. It fell short for me, and that was really the only moment in the story that like really took me out of it, and I was like, man, that was stupid. That was just not a good moment. So that's kind of my final con, is that moment. All right. Those are pretty much all of my pros and my cons from Heavensward. Like I said, overall, I actually really enjoyed it. I definitely thought it was a step up in really pretty much every aspect from A Realm Reborn. And it did the thing that it needed to do most, which is gets me excited for Stormblood. Just like some of those moments right at the very end of the expansion are super intense, super emotional, and there are some reveals for some of the characters that are big moments, and it's exciting, and it does a great job of getting me excited to play Stormblood. So overall, I am going to give Heavensward a 9.0 out of 10. Thought it was a very good game. I thought it was definitely a step up from Realm Reborn. And like I said, it got me excited to play Stormblood, which is its most important thing. So, now, if you enjoyed this video, please like the video and leave a comment below on what you thought of Heavensward, and then subscribe to the channel and hit the bell to get notifications for all future videos. And what's coming up next are going to be reviews for Stormblood and reviews for Shadowbringers. And then I'm also going to be doing a 24-hour live stream over at Twitch at twitch.tv/CyrusTheGreat99. I'll be leaving a link in the description below here. And I'm going to be doing a 24-hour stream right when Endwalker drops on December 3rd from 1 a.m. all the way 1 a.m. the next day. So come check me out. It's going to be really fun. And I'll catch you guys in the next review. Thanks. Peace.